Why do you waste money on idols, buying tickets that cost a month's salary for your parents? Idols just land at the airport, and fans rush to give gifts, cheering loudly. Do your parents get such a reception when they return from working far away? Smart, intelligent people don't worship these clowns who just sing and dance nonsense. Singers are worthless. These are surely familiar criticisms from our grandparents' and parents' generations when they see their children and grandchildren's idol worship. A perception still persists among our parents' generation, 70s and 80s born, that spending money to see idols perform is pointless. This generational conflict grows increasingly tense as young people and their parents' grandparents struggle to find common ground. So, where do these prejudices and conflicts arise from? In reality, idol culture initially had no negative connotations or encouraged excessive, immoral behavior. However, after a process of formation and explosive development, distortions and perversions of its original meaning emerged. It is these awkward, even uncivilized and immoral actions, labeled as idol culture, that truly cause tension and make reconciliation difficult for both generations. First, let's look from the fans' perspective. It's true that during their growth and personality development, every child needs role models to learn from. Choosing a specific role model, an idol, to embody criteria for personal effort and improvement, striving towards a better version of oneself, is perfectly normal. Psychologists have also confirmed that during periods of psychophysiological change, children are almost unable to orient themselves alone. If they have positive companionship and guidance from family, they will choose idols with depth, high education, and positive lifestyles and behaviors. However, it's also understandable that when emotions overwhelm reason, all behaviors can spiral out of control. Specifically, some young people blindly defend their idols, even when they are wrong or even illegal. For example, after the BS case, which shocked South Korea and the world with its heinous crimes, a segment of fans still loved unconditionally, trusting their idol implicitly, signing petitions demanding freedom for the person they admired. Because of this blind love, many young people worship their idols to the extent of being ready to confront anyone who mocks or attacks them. A female fan of Group B confessed that she once fought with a group of 6 boys because they badmouthed her idol, Group B at that time. She held a knife and stood defiantly, declaring war on them. Not only that, there have been fans who threatened their idol's partners to end their lives, or even threatened the idol themselves for getting married or acting against the fans' wishes. The extremism of a segment of fans has led society to associate idol culture with negativity and a bad influence on the community, especially young people. Furthermore, there's a concept called deviant idolization, which refers to the worship and admiration of an individual or event by a segment of the public, but which goes against the positive interests of society. Young people not only idolize famous stars and artists, phenomena are emerging where young people idolize online gangsters. Most of these idols come from troubled backgrounds, but display words and actions that show off their power and contempt for the law. For example, the character KB frequently posts videos of destroying property, lining up on streets causing traffic jams. Through films, music videos with offensive and violent lyrics, these online gangsters also infect young people with distorted and misleading statements. These figures directly tap into young people's psychology of liking novelty, sensationalism, and self-expression. The products they create and the stories they share cater to the youth's desire for heroism. This is particularly dangerous for students in their second developmental stage. Looking from the idol's perspective, we must also mention cases where idols abuse their power and fame, becoming corrupt. The more famous an idol becomes, the more status they gain in the industry, and with it power. But power always has a dark side. The greater the power, the greater the risk of corruption. It corrupts those who hold and use it if they lack sufficient moral maturity. When power is given to someone without sufficient character, it becomes a tool for personal gain. A notable example is the case of singer DP in 2021, which shook the world when he was involved in a sexual scandal, preying on women, and was criminally arrested for investigation. An MC named MV made a shameful statement defending this male idol. There's no greater benefit than for a fan to sleep with their idol. One wonders, once both idol and fan have this thought ingrained, how toxic will this abuse of power become? not to mention the many scandals involving drug trafficking, military evasion, severe school violence, or sexual abuse, secretly filming and distributing illegal videos, with idols as the perpetrators, further eroding public goodwill towards idol culture. The world of artists is not as simple as it appears, nor as glamorous as it seems. Ordinary people like us can hardly understand all the unspoken rules, the manipulation tactics, the intense rivalries, sometimes even involving bloodshed. It's easy to see that witnessing these idol scandals firsthand, our grandparents and parents will certainly hold prejudices and view idol culture negatively. Not to mention, if they perceive their children and grandchildren's idol worship as negatively impacting their behavior, lifestyle, academic performance, quality of relationships, and future, they will undoubtedly object entirely. Furthermore, there's an ingrained belief among parents and grandparents. Singers are worthless. Ziwang kavo loi. This phrase implies that those who pursue singing completely lose their dignity, are scorned, and don't belong to any class in ancient feudal society. In that society, people were divided into four main classes: scholars, farmers, artisans, and merchants, si, nong, kong, thuong. Scholars were the first class, highly respected, representing intellectuals with education and knowledge. Farmers were those who worked the land. Artisans were those engaged in handicraft industries. Merchants were those involved in trade. With these four classes, singers didn't belong to any, hence the saying, Ziwang kavo loi. However, this feudalistic view is one-sided and stereotypical. A few scandals cannot represent the entire entertainment industry. One cannot judge all singers and idols as lacking good character. The older generation should adopt a more tolerant, multifaceted view before judging and criticizing idols and the fan community, because what people see is truly not everything. This episode was created precisely with that objective, to provide the most objective perspective, restoring the positive value that idol culture inherently possesses. So, what good things can idols truly bring? First, when young people idolize someone, they are actually finding an individual who represents the aspirations, will, and desires they pursue. It's understandable that adolescents are in a very sensitive developmental period, searching for their identity. They long to be understood, to express themselves. Perhaps they don't feel heard even in family, friend, or colleague relationships, but they feel understood when listening to idol stories. Many idols overcome hardships, endure rigorous training, painful pasts, and unfortunate childhoods, striving to prove their talent to the world and stand in the spotlight on their own 2 feet. Young people see their own dreams and ambitions reflected in the projected image of their idols. For this reason, they develop affection for their idols and show positive support for the people they admire. That is a beautiful thing. Psychological experts also affirm that in most cases, the emotional bond with an idol is safe and quite fulfilling. Admiring and caring for an idol in moderation brings many mental benefits to fans. Some children have saved themselves thanks to their idols, escaping the black dog of psychological shadows. There are also female students who, motivated by an idol's encouraging words, return to diligent study to prove they would make their idol proud. In a live stream chat with fans, a male idol named BC, leader of a K-pop group, shared, "Whenever I face difficulties, whenever I feel despair, I just want to say that you should open up to us. We will listen to you, and no matter what, we will try to help you get through this period. After all, I myself have never heard such warm, comforting words from anyone in my life. So, even if idols are not therapists, I truly felt my spirits lifted by those words of encouragement." Second, idolizing someone truly brings happiness. Constantly seeing their idol from the spotlight to backstage continuously releases dopamine, the happiness hormone in the fan's brain. Have you ever stood amidst a sea of people, singing along to every lyric, experiencing a full range of emotions, gazing out at the star who has accompanied you throughout your youth, feeling a sense of, "Oh, we've spent so much time together, I've truly lived"? Some, even without enough money for concert tickets, watch videos online with overwhelming joy. If you truly like a song or admire a singer, just try attending one of their concerts. Then you'll understand what it feels like to want time to stand still and truly live in the moment. You suddenly find life more meaningful. You cherish every beautiful moment of that day. It's hard to experience such emotions a second time, but what does it matter? It's youth, and you've given your all. Music has the power to transport people back to a specific time, moment, or experience in the past. Music is also a means of connecting people, conveying national culture, and carrying practical humanistic values. Impressive and meticulously prepared performances inspire many young people to learn about the culture of Dong Ho folk paintings, how to play traditional musical instruments, and ancient folk melodies. Have you ever seen, in the history of Vietnamese culture, a concert of 20,000 people, mostly young, singing together songs like Dao Lu, De Co Hoi Lang, or Trong Com? Young people raising their voices, immersing themselves in those folk melodies that is the great dream of those who carry the mission of preserving national cultural traditions. This unity creates a wave of young people who love their country, love their culture, and consciously and proactively seek to learn about it, an effect no media campaign could achieve as effectively. No matter how old you are, it's never too late to do what you love and live for what you want. So, don't be overly strict, ridicule, or spread rumors when you see people working hard, saving money to hunt for concert tickets. They earn money to satisfy their own needs. There's nothing wrong with that. Furthermore, when you idolize someone, you also find a community where you belong. Have you ever gone to an offline meetup, talked all night with strangers, tagged each other on Facebook whenever you saw an idol's photo, made handmade items together, waited for tickets together, or gathered at a fan meeting to share everything? That's a miracle you're sure to experience when you join a fandom. Idols bring you soulmates with shared interests, good friends. There are also people who, because of their idols, undertake incredibly meaningful community projects like charity fundraising, blood donation drives, or simply spreading positivity as a fan. Moreover, we cannot overlook the economic benefits from multi-million-dollar idol concerts and performances. For example, during the 2 days of BLACKPINK's Born Pink concert in Hanoi, the total number of tourists to the capital reached nearly 200,000, with estimated revenue of 630 billion VND, an increase of over 25% compared to the annual average. Beyond economic benefits, world stars choosing Vietnam as a destination also gradually enhance our country's position on the global performing arts map. In summary, idol culture is not bad. This culture exists in all ages and eras. It's a natural need but also reflects the trends of a generation. In our grandparents' era, with education from schools, almost every child idolized images of leaders and soldiers, because at that time, those were noble and majestic figures. Now, idols are no longer limited by age, occupation, or subject, but the most prominent manifestation with the largest crowd effect is still actors and singers. Idols exist in every era and everywhere, and can be admired at any age. However, this is a special feature of youth. Therefore, if young people can convince adults of the good aspects of idolizing through their actions, it will be compelling proof to win their support for idol culture. The older generation should adopt a more generous view of their children and grandchildren's idol culture. It must be reiterated and emphasized that taste and the need to idolize are a private right of each individual. Therefore, it would be unreasonable and overly strict if adults impose their personal opinions and generational biases. And once young people encounter excessive prohibition or interference from adults, they will be hurt and may resort to defiant behaviors. So, instead of prejudice, criticism, and condemnation, adults need to understand and then educate and guide young people to idolize in a cultured way. And of course, for artists, for the idols themselves, once they decide to become public figures, living under the scrutiny of tens of thousands, millions of eyes, idols also need to cultivate their own character and ethics. Even though our era respects individual artistic personality and allows artists to fully express their unique qualities, idols are not gods. Idols must live within the bounds of the law, build their character, create valuable products, and behave in a cultured manner. With talent, heart, and vision, they can go far in their careers and serve as a spiritual leverage in the hearts of fans, contributing to spreading a positive view of idol culture in our country.